I wanted to brush up on my Spanish for this.
Do it.
I don't know any anymore. I used to be a little bit better at it because I had a lot of Spanish speaking teammates in college. But
where did you go to school?
most of my Spanish is inappropriate.
Well, then you're pretty
know
fluent.
too, like,
then you know how
Donde
you know how to
está el baño, which is pretty important.
that one. Yeah.
And Yo quiero Taco Bell. No, that was not so important.
That one's not so important. That's not so important. Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, you ready to do this thing?
Whew, I could use some energy. I've been up a long time. I
don't
already
have
put
any
in a day.
coffee.
I did. I'm good.
So you're good.
I'm good.
You just gotta rack it up. Pretend you're counseling me with microphones and cameras.
What's your copay? What's your copay? Or would you rather do private pay?
Private pay, probably.
Okay. Should I build the office?
You should build office.
Okay.
We'll
No,
use a
I know
fund.
how to do that.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the I'm Here For podcast. Whatever you have going on in life, no matter where you are, no matter how high or how low, I'm here for it. And so is this podcast. We're so excited for you to be joining us. I have an awesome guest, Kathy McCaw.
Hey, I'm glad I'm awesome.
Licensed marriage and family therapist.
Yep.
Been doing it for a really long time.
2006, 2008, depending on when I started working versus when I graduated. Yeah.
And we kind of know each other. I call you a friend-ish.
This is the third time we've seen each other in person, ever. And one was just across a restaurant.
Yeah,
That was
that's
it.
right.
Yeah.
We communicate a lot, though, because we, refer a lot of people to you, I think.
Yeah. I would say that. And then you've stepped in a pastor role for me through a time when I did not have one.
You're too kind about that.
You were too kind with it as well.
Yeah. So we're so excited because I mean, you're one of the go-to people we put people to, and the feedback we get from them about going to see you has been phenomenal. So
good.
It's great. Yeah. It's really good. And are you fluent in Spanish?
No. Intermediate. So they have like A level, B level, C level. I'm B something, but mostly self-taught. But I have been working with a Spanish tutor in Ecuador because last summer I did an immersion program where I took myself to Ecuador for 3 weeks, stayed with a host, and I didn't know anyone. And then there was like 5 of us in the program, and it was so much fun. And then the one teacher that I had in the language school, she does private lessons for $10 whole an hour.
Holy
she kept
cow.
because Ecuador uses the US dollar as their currency. So she was like, Kathy, it's $10 for a complete hour. And I said, I think I can do that.
Think you can
I
handle
think
that?
I can do that.
So you went full bore on this thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I had 5 years of French in school between high school
Why?
and college. Well, because, when
Just because it sounds fancy?
It was very fancy. Yeah, but I don't know what it is as an adult. I started working in the Lebanon school district. That was my first job doing therapy. I was in an elementary
Really?
school. Yeah, and they have the population there at the time was at least 50% were Latino in Lebanon. And I wasn't able to communicate real well with the parents. So my husband was in the Army. And at the time, I could do Rosetta Stone for free through his account. And so I enjoyed doing that. And I just self-taught with Rosetta Stone. And then a friend of mine is a language teacher here. And she recommended some books because I'm a visual learner. So I needed to see some of it too. And then I don't know what, I just feel called to do it.
It's awesome. So what made you, you started marriage and family therapy in 2008?
No, I graduated in 2008. Started the program, it would have been 2005.
Okay.
Down in Myerstown. What had me start, so it has nothing to do with my bachelor's degree. Like many people, my bachelor's degree, I never worked a day in it.
What was it?
It was in corporate training.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was communications media, but an emphasis in corporate training.
I mean, it still helps.
Yeah, I mean, with systems, it's interesting because corporate training, marriage and family therapy is based in systems. So our training is very systems based. So it's not just, oh, you have this problem. We're looking at the whole system of what's contributing, which lends itself very well with corporate training. But I stayed home when I had kids. I wanted to stay home with them for a while, and then I was fine. And then I was like, this, I can only clean the same countertop. Like I did not, I'm glad I did it when I did it, but I was ready to use my adult brain again. Yeah. Like I don't have that nurturing gene. Yeah. Some people are awesome. They just love to nurture, and that's great. That is just not me. Yeah. So I was trying to figure out again what I was going to do when I grew up. So I got to do that twice. And what I did, because I didn't have any idea, I just asked people that were important to me at the time. I was like, what do you see me doing? And I had 3 different people who were unrelated to each other. They didn't know each other. 3 different people say going into counseling would be good for you, which made me laugh.
Good for you.
Well,
not good for the world.
No, but good, like a good fit for me. But it was hilarious because the family I grew up in, my family of origin, like only people with really bad problems. Like you go to therapy to make excuses for yourself. Like it was not a family that was friendly with therapy. So it was pretty hilarious. I tell people that all the time. Like it's absolutely hilarious that I do what I do.
Yeah.
Throughout the time, I've realized, I don't know how much of it is because of my training and what I do that I practice it all the time, or if it's just personality or a blend of both. Things that shock other people. You know, we as people can be a little bit judgmental. Yeah, perhaps you've noticed that. Myself at the top of that at times. But things that happen in relationships, things that happen in life, people get very shocked by. Yeah. And I just go, well, yeah, that happens. Yeah. You know, that happens. Yeah, that happened and it's okay. So I can roll with the punches a bit and just, oh, now what are we going to do?
It's super interesting to me that you like ask people around. I talk to a lot of people that in my role just that are like trying to, and I don't offer counseling, but the subject comes up a lot. Like, I don't know what God's will is for my life. I don't know what to do. I don't, what am I supposed to, what should I major in, you know? And you know, all these weird like vocational type questions about the future. And it's almost like, dude, like finding that out, I think is much more practical and like a step-by-step thing than just trying to sit on a couch dreaming and trying to plan by yourself. It's like asking people, it's like understanding yourself. Yeah. It's like, what am I good at? What excites me? And
when do you understand yourself? That's the question.
Now this is when it turns into therapy for me. Right?
No, like just in general, like when do you understand yourself?
I'm still figuring it out. Right.
That's what I've told. I've had teenagers in my office. Yeah. I've had, kids in their 20s, my own kids. There's a pressure once you hit 6th grade. I think a lot of the districts start meeting with the guidance counselors.
Really?
Oh, what are you going to do? Taking the little tests. And I tell people, what are you going to do for the next 5 years? Just what are you going to do for the next 5 years? Yeah. Because I'm not doing the same things in my 20s. Like, it had nothing to do with what I'm doing now. And
this is the last thing I wanted to do.
Be a pastor.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. I know. And here you are.
Yeah, here I am.
Yeah. So I don't think it's about what am I going to do for the rest of my life. It's just who am I right now? And I mean, be responsible, pay your bills. Yeah. Don't lean on other people to do all your stuff for you. Right. But you're allowed to change it. I'm kind of curious to see what the next decade's going to be like for me because I'm not in my 20s or my 30s or even 40s anymore. So, when does retirement come? What am I going to do? I'll figure it out.
What's the weirdest thing people assume about what you do?
Well, there's a lot of things. Okay, so 2 things come to mind immediately. The first thing is people assume that I'm always, quote unquote, analyzing them. Yeah. If you're not paying me,
you're not analyzing.
I assure you, I am not analyzing you. There's a pretty distinct difference of therapist Kathy and at home. Like the hat.
You just flip that switch off.
I flip the switch. I might observe things, but I don't know if it's much different than other people do, Yeah. And if I am observing things, it's probably more to the positive. Like I really take note because I work with tons of couples. Yeah. I take note of couples around me, and I am really lucky to know couples that they really like each other and they do marriage really well. And I note that, like, that's the stuff that I really pay attention to. Like, oh my gosh, check that out. Like just seeing it lived out, Yeah. That's if I'm judging, quote unquote, it's probably more to the positive.
That's really good to hear. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean,
So
therapists
people
are
get-
people too, right? Like I have
Yeah.
another thing people will assume too. It's funny. People assume that I think the way they do, particularly when it's politic, like seasons of voting. So
Yeah.
people are talking about things. Doesn't matter what party they are. They just assume that I think the way that they do.
Right.
Well, we do that. It's the assumption of familiarity, right? Like
Yeah.
if I like you, then that means that we think alike.
So what do you think's behind all the rants on social media?
Oh, I don't pay one bit of attention to those.
You don't want to psychoanalyze what's going on?
Oh, I
underneath
have
it?
my stuff curated. If you were to look through my Facebook feed, it's there's like really dumb cat videos and dog videos, a lot of recipes, and a lot of travel. I don't have politics stuff.
Yeah, me neither. I just don't understand why people do that. Why they rant like crazy.
I don't.
There's
wanna
like
be
no
angry.
filter. People lose their filter on social media. They lose their filter in church.
Oh, because again, I wonder if it's because we're all here, so we have to think the same way. My aunt, she's the oldest of my mom's family. She's 82 or 83, and she went to seminary. She went to Denver Seminary in her late 40s or 50. And at the time, there was not a lot of women doing that. And she was just talking with me too, just about when did people decide that their feelings trumped truth?
Yeah.
Like there's truth, and there's truth that research can support.
Right.
But if it doesn't line up with how you see the world, then we just don't pay any attention to that. Feelings have started to trump facts.
Which is interesting because feelings are so deceptive sometimes.
Oh yeah.
Like they lie to us all the time.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But but they're king.
They are. Feelings can get you in jail.
Yeah, right.
Feelings can
There's probably a whole lot of people in jail because of feelings.
Right.
I'm dying to ask you this question, but I don't know if you can answer it.
Let's try.
And don't answer it if you can't, because I don't want to, you're very good at what you do. You help a lot of people. You change the world for better in families. So I don't want to train wreck it.
Okay.
I don't want to train wreck it by asking you a question. So we can always edit it out if you want later. I'm dying to ask. And if you can't say, you can't say, like, what's the weirdest thing that's ever happened in therapy?
So being a therapist that lives and works in the same small community.
Yeah.
Schuylkill County is a small community. There's a lot of miles around it, but everyone has been, your families are related and you've been to school together. Like everyone knows everybody. I have to maintain people's confidentiality in all situations.
Yes.
So that means
You can't answer that question.
well, no.
Confidentiality is hard sometimes because like there's lots of times in my line of work where I'm shared something in confidence and people may not understand why I make a decision I make or do something I do, and I can't tell them why. Like if hypothetically, say I had to dismiss somebody who was a part of a ministry or a volunteer or staff or something. This is hypothetical. It's not happened, but because I knew something in confidence that I could not share publicly, but that person was loved, and that gets really sticky. Like you want to go, dude, if you knew what I knew about this person,
Yeah.
you would be cheering me on.
Right.
But
Pats on the
instead
back.
you're like ripping me. I want to talk about some therapy stuff. Like,
Okay.
you can pretend you're counseling me. What's the first thing? Like if somebody feels stuck, I just see a lot of people that seem stuck. They're stuck spiritually. They're stuck emotionally. They're stuck in their marriage. They're stuck. And I know you can't analyze without any more details, but if there's like one thing to say to somebody who is stuck, like you had a minute to tell them something, what would you say?
Well, that's incredibly vague. So
Vague?
let's
Ask me more questions.
so when you're saying stuck, what do you mean?
I mean, they feel stuck. Like they feel like their life's not going anywhere. They feel like they don't know what to do to get out of the rut.
Well, sometimes we don't get out of the rut until we go through the rut. So
Yeah.
we can't expect to go through life without feeling the bad stuff too, because oftentimes feeling the bad stuff helps you get through the rut. For example, some people have depression or anxiety not because of a chemical issue in their brain, but because the circumstance that they're in.
Yeah.
Right. So how often do you feel anxious because maybe you're not in a good fit of your job or your friend group or a relationship? And then your body's telling you something. Sometimes it's about something here needs to change. And if we're just medicating it or drinking it or drugging it or shopping it or eating it, I might have a little bit of a sugar problem, like then nothing's going to change and then you're going to be stuck.
Yeah.
So getting curious for sure. But curiosity, I think, is the answer to a lot of things.
Really?
I think so. Like going back to people assume that I agree with them with everything. Or when we don't agree with people, we want to judge, we want to argue, but getting curious of, why do you think that? Like, if I think that you're a pretty decent person and you think differently than I do, make that make sense to me. What do you see that I'm not seeing? How do you see it? You don't have to agree with it, but it helps you to understand where that person's coming from. And it takes away, so you're not trying to be a jerk. You're not trying to control me. You're not trying to be difficult.
I like that.
Curiosity would cure a lot of things.
Really?
I think so. Genuine curiosity. Like,
right.
Help me understand what am I not seeing here? And I don't have to agree with you, but I can see where you're coming from, and that makes sense why you would react that way.
Yeah, and that would build empathy, and understanding and all those things we need to kind of work through difficult circumstances. And if you're applying curiosity to yourself, that gives you a self-awareness that I think is missed a lot.
Why am I so mad right now?
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah. It really helped me to figure out that in therapy that a lot of my reactions were fear-based.
Oh, yeah.
Because of the trauma of losing my mom and brother real fast in one pancreatic cancer and a car crash. So like my response to situations when my kids would be sick was like extreme. I completely, in retrospect, a little hilarious too. And I completely made every situation where my kids were sick or hurt worse. That was all because of that fear that just was so deep in me that was like, hey, I'm going to lose everybody I love. They're going to lose. I'm going to lose them because they get sick. I'm going to leave them hurting and crushed like me because I get sick. Or,
And you might lose them, but what are you going to do about it? Like, you can't control it.
Yeah.
You can't control it. That's one of the things I do a lot with people with anxiety, myself, the what ifs that play in our brain.
Yeah.
What if, but what if, but what if? But how often do we sit there and go, okay, so what if that does happen? Then what would I do? I used to live in one neighborhood, and then we were building a house. And at that time, I was still in school. I was only starting to work part-time. So my financial situation was quite a bit different.
Right.
And the mortgage payments. So when you build a house, the fun part about building a house, and I'm saying this tongue in cheek, when you buy a house, this is the price that is agreed upon.
Yep.
This is the interest rate that you have, and this is what your mortgage will be to the penny.
Yeah.
When you build a house, it's more of a hypothetical. Like, we think we can build this for around whatever.
Oh, and it's never around whatever.
Right. Did they hit water when they thought they were going to hit water for the well? Like, did we have any issues making the septic, right? So there's all that. So I lost 30 pounds in 2.5 months because the only time in my life that I had really bad anxiety, selling a house, buying a house, started an internship, a job, still in school full time, and got news that my husband was going to be deployed within the year. Ugh. I was a little stressed. But I remember walking and I was like, what if we can't afford that house? What if we can't? What if we can't? What if we can't? What if we can't? And I made myself stop and think about it. Okay, so if you can't, if it comes out $20,000 more, you know what you're getting paid now working part-time. You're going to be graduating in a year. You can work full-time. If in the meantime, you can waitress for a weekend, and then you're going to be fine. Sometimes when I call it extending the what if. What if that happens? What would you do? Yeah. And oftentimes people go, oh, okay, that's not so bad.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But sometimes bad things happen and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah. That's the hard part for me because I want to control it. I want to go, maybe I could have And I had to really stop myself from playing like what ifs. Obviously with pancreatic cancer, there's nothing I can do for my mom, but my brother, I'm like, what if I would have had him with me for the weekend? You know, what if we would have been doing something that Friday night instead of him going to that party? You know, it wasn't a booze party or anything. It was just going out with friends and driving recklessly.
As young adults tend to do.
Yeah, right, right. And that was part of it too. Like, hey, you know, like it could have been me. You know, I did stupid stuff like that. But that control piece was really hard for me to, like, I'm better now, but it still flares up. Like, you ask anybody around this place and they'll make fun of how much Perel I go through in a year. Like, some of this stuff.
Do you need hand lotion? Are you
good?
I
have Perel in my pocket right now. Yeah.
Let me see it.
Crazy.
Let's see it.
Actually, no, I put it right there.
Lies.
Right
there it is. There it is.
I took it out probably because I felt self-conscious about having Perel with me, talking to a therapist. But like some of that stuff has lingered, right? Like I still, I don't know if it's a big deal or not, but
if your Perel habit doesn't affect the quality of your life or those around you, it's not an issue.
No, I don't mind it at all.
Okay, then we're good.
We're good.
You're safe to shake hands with.
Don't worry about it. Yeah, most of the time, I'm probably the safest person you have met to shake hands with.
Okay. And I was cleaning litter boxes before I came, so I did wash my hands.
We didn't shake hands.
I do have hygiene habits, so I did wash up.
I actually try not to shake hands a lot.
Are you like a Howie Mandel?
I could be so easy. Yeah, so it's weird. I don't like it about me. It's ridiculous. I can convince myself that I have all kinds of crazy medical issues. I can convince my body to feel pain where it doesn't feel pain. Like I can't tell you how many times I've been to the doctor thinking I had cancer and like a month to live.
So what were you doing with that month to live? What was the plan?
Good question. Nothing good.
Oh, you
I
need
didn't
to
have a
least have
plan.
it.
I was just
What's your last
suffering
meal?
great anxiety.
What's your last meal? If you have a last meal, you're on death row because you Perelled too many people. And now you've been arrested.
That's a jump. I went from the podcast to death row.
Your death row, you have to choose your last meal. What is it?
I don't know.
Oh, I've got mine nailed down.
Red Lion cheesesteak.
I've not had that.
Oh my goodness.
I'm going snow crab legs.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm. Snow crab legs, like
Those
a whole
are
bundle.
good.
What also takes a long time to eat them.
So why'd you throw me to my last meal?
These are the things I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
I think of odd things like that. I have a friend group. The question is, if you had the choice to be 12 inches tall or 12 feet tall, everything, you're proportioned correctly, but you're living in this world and you have to be 12 inches tall or 12 feet tall, which would you be? There are two distinct camps.
There's two distinct camps?
Oh, yeah. We in the group, this has divided friendships. Your answer.
Do I have to answer this?
Well, you don't have to.
That's
you could
exactly
have Perel.
what a therapist would say.
You could have Perel at either height.
At either height?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I could live 12 inches tall.
You're on my team. Congrats.
I think it'd have to be 12 feet.
Could you imagine
crazy as that sounds.
The 12-inch people, like you're kicking them. You're like picking them up and putting them in your pocket because you can.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, that's good to know.
It's
yeah, these are the kind of things when people think that I'm analyzing them, I'm thinking more things like, I wonder, what would you rather have for your last meal? Or would you pick 12 inches or 12 feet tall?
Back to marriage and family stuff.
Oh, yeah,
that stuff. Well, so what's like the one thing? I want to say biggest problem, but I don't know if it's maybe biggest challenge that in general, not talking about any specific person or couple or whatever. In general, what's the biggest challenge you think marriages are facing right now?
Everybody wants to call and say communication. Well, we're coming for communication problems.
Is that what they say?
Oh, yeah, right. And I assure them, I was like, well, you are communicating.
Yeah.
You are. I promise you're communicating. It's just how. Again, it goes back to, do we have room for people to think differently than us? Do we have room to negotiate our differences? Do we have room to not always get our way? But the other thing, too, is particularly for couples that aren't married at this point, you might love each other, but are you compatible?
Right.
That's a different thing. You might love each other, but are you compatible? Right?
Yeah. There's a lot of people that probably need to think about that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
What if they're not compatible?
Well, then they'll have some decisions to make. I mean, you either negotiate your differences or you fight about them for the rest of your life. And if you can't negotiate them, if those are your deal breakers, right? Like, so if I'm someone that I'm more of a saver and I want to have some retirement, and, you know, the person I'm dating that I might love very much, and this is very hypothetical because I am married and it would be bad if I had a boyfriend that I was dating. but, you know, if I'm with someone who, you know, this credit score is 200 and they make $20 and spend 30 of it, that's not going to work for me.
Yeah.
You know, like, you might be a great person and I might like you an awful lot, but this is probably not going to work for us to combine our lives together and kind of create one together.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. What if it's too late? You're married and you're not compatible. What do you say to those people?
Well,
or how do you begin to?
They have to. I never, ever, ever tell somebody what they should do with their marriage.
Right.
It's not my business.
Right.
Now, if somebody is in an abusive marriage,
Right.
if somebody is being abused and they're not safe, I'm a lot more directive about that. Whether it's just, you're not safe and this is very toxic, let's look at some resources.
Yeah.
But, you know, again, it's, if you want to be together, how much of yourself are you willing to die for?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And hopefully if each person's doing it, then no one person is being walked over.
Well, you kind of just stepped into my world a little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah, that whole dying to self thing.
Mm-hmm. If you think about it, though, like, if you are constantly trying to put the people around you, like, you're looking out for them, but they're also doing the same for you. If they're looking out for your best interests and you're looking out for their best interests while also looking out for your own, then you're not going to be anyone's doormat.
Yeah.
Yeah. But not everybody can do that. And so sometimes it's just communicating. So women, my people at times have a problem with not clearly communicating. Women, we can speak each other's language.
Yeah.
Would you agree that men don't always speak the same language of women?
Yeah.
Okay.
You think? Yeah, just a little.
I don't want to make assumptions, but women can communicate without clearly saying, I would like it if you could help me clean up the house today. I'm exhausted. It's been a long day. I'm feeling overwhelmed. It would be great if you could do whatever. They don't often say that. They might come in and say passive comments or make hints, and then the hints aren't getting caught, and then they never...
We're clearly not great at picking up hints either.
Right. So there are times that women will come in just alone and they're wondering, should they stay in the relationship? And they're talking about, and he always this and he never that, and I'm so sick of this. And so I just say, well, what does he say about that when you talk to him about that? Knowing full well the answer is usually, well, I haven't said that. Perhaps you should. Perhaps you should actually communicate what it is you're needing. And that often is the opening that they then bring their partner, spouse, boyfriend, whoever, into therapy. And a lot of times the guy's like, I had no idea it's that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Men, you know what? Men, there are more and more men initiating therapy, even the husbands. It used to always be like it was the wife bringing the husband in, but I've had way more guys initiating therapy lately too.
That's really good news.
It's awesome news. Yeah. And the younger guys, like the under 40 crowd, it seems like there's a new generation of men that are a little bit more in touch with themselves, more active, wanting to be a partner.
Yeah.
Not the gender roles that I think we probably were modeled growing up and that we still have a little bit lingering.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool kind of to see how things change among the generations.
Yeah, that's really good news. Mm-hmm. It's good for families. It's good for kids. I'm glad that. And that you jumped over into that whole die to self thing. It's like that one passage, it gets misinterpreted and miscommunicated all the time, and usually used to to create some chauvinistic hierarchy, where in the New Testament, I think it's Paul's talking about how submission, like
I hate that word because it's been
so
misused.
Right, it's so brutally misused. And then, husbands, love your wives the way Christ has, even to lay down your life for them or whatever. That's like a mutual submission. There's not a...
Well, keep going. Yeah.
And really what the lesson there is in that passage, it's not about a woman submitting to a man at all. It's about just dying to self for each other.
Mm-hmm. And if you keep going in the New Testament somewhere, that's how I quote scripture. Somewhere in the New Testament, it says something about. That's how I we're supposed to submit to each other just as Christians.
Absolutely.
It's mutual submission.
Yeah.
It's serving one another. It's everyone using their
It's
gifts.
the bar. Yeah, it's laying down your desires for somebody else, carrying their burden.
Even parents with kids, right? Like we as parents, I'll speak for myself. I would really prefer if my kids would have just did what I said when I wanted them to do it, but they're people too.
Yeah.
And having to look at what might be going on with them, that they're kind of acting up, or, treating them as not equal members of the family, because someone needs to be in charge of the circus. Yeah. But people are people, right? And we need to treat people with respect.
So, church, what do you think we're getting wrong with mental health in general?
Over spiritualizing things.
Yeah.
Yes, we need to pray, but it's easy to just kind of throw out the platitudes, because when someone's hurting, it makes us feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
If our kids are hurting, if our kids are crying, what do I need to do to make you stop crying? Because I feel uncomfortable with it.
Yeah, right.
So it's easy to throw the platitudes out there. It's easy to just throw these things of, oh, just pray some more. Oh, God's got you. God will never give you more than you can handle, and all those things. But we just need to be able to walk through the mess with people.
Yeah.
Just walking through the mess, that people are going to be messy. They're going to do stupid things. And, to come back from that, you don't need people throwing shame at you, or even just making you feel like, I can't talk about this because me talking about my issues is making them uncomfortable. So now I need to swallow it because they can't handle it. So what's wrong with me? Just, can you be authentic? Can you show up? And if you can't show up, don't say anything. Probably.
Yeah.
Just don't say anything. Yeah. I'm not equipped for that.
Yeah.
Go talk to Josh.
Don't realize though that that's okay not to say anything. Mm-hmm. Like in my worst moments, I don't need anybody to say anything to me. I just need somebody to be there. Mm-hmm. Somebody just to let me know I'm not alone in the moment, or
some of the ways I show up for my clients in the therapy office is just, I say, that sucks.
Yeah.
This is gross. This is icky. Like, I can imagine that you've been crying all week. I would probably be crying too. Just being able to be a mirror to someone, like, no wonder you're feeling that way. That's awful.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Is it hard carrying that emotion? Or are you good at like just stepping away from it, keeping it in a box? Or
for the most part, you learn that. Year 1 and 2 as a therapist, you have to learn, like, because you're excited, you've gone to school, all these things, you're gonna change the world, and you bring the client, the problems home with you, but then you learn you can't, because I got my own problems. I don't need to bring yours home with me.
You got it all figured out.
Yeah, I'll figure it out. So you learn to not do that, but there are things that hit. I remember one summer in particular. I don't even remember. I still worked in Lebanon. I went away for vacation. I came back from vacation to find out, first day back from vacation, I found out one of my clients had died. She hit a tree in a car. And I found out because another one of my clients was related to her, and I didn't know it until this point. So this client comes in talking about this horrible accident of her niece. And as she's describing it, she says the name, and I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess she's not coming to her appointment in 3 days, right? Whoa. But I can't,
You can't show that?
No, it's confidentiality, Josh.
How do you not show that?
You just swallow it.
Lock it down.
Yes. And then the next day, I went to work to a voicemail of, it was an agency. One of my clients, he had been HIV positive for a bazillion years. And so he was working with some other agency, and she let me know that he had died, but it was of lung cancer that he died. So I had never had a client die. And then within 2 days, I had numbers 1 and 2. And then a month later, I had a client make an incredibly serious suicide attempt. Oh. And he went missing. His family, so they were calling me because they couldn't find him. Helicopters were out. So that was a weekend I was sitting on my patio. Like I wasn't okay with that one because I had no idea what was going on.
I don't know how you could be okay with that one.
No, that was a hard one. I mean, he's okay. He was okay.
Good.
Yeah. So. Yeah,
the burden that people in your field carry sometimes, or the process, just even having to turn it off and on, like that's. an emotional challenge that I don't think people understand.
Yeah, and sitting, so I have to be the safe place for trauma too. So
Yeah.
I hear the things often that they've never told anyone else. So, details of traumas, what was done to them, and you just have to lock it down. And sometimes like I try to keep it again locked down. So I'm not trying to be cold, but I also can't break into tears because then again it's, well, now I can't tell her because now she's upset.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's sometimes I can't remember some of the situations. I think I probably have forgotten about them on purpose, but I do remember, not frequently, but there have been times between sessions that I just closed the door. I needed to have a moment and then just kind of like shake it off, slug some coffee, and then put on a fake smile to go out for the next person.
Right.
There's 5 minutes in between. There's 5 minutes in between. That includes documenting the session. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
What's the thing that's broken your heart most about what you do?
Oh, that's a hard question. First thing that comes to mind is there's so many really great people out there that are underserved, haven't had a shot. Like, I don't know how they survived childhood, but they did, and they're resilient and are just scraping by with very little resources. And I just want to be able to kind of like take them under my wing, or just I guess the best way to say it, before I started doing this work, I grew up very comfortably middle class, I think, like a lot of people do. And you just assume that, well, if you just pull yourself up by your bootstraps, you'll be fine. There are people out there that grew up and their families don't have an extra $10 and they don't know anyone else who has an extra $10. And so when you grow up not having resources or even access to someone else who can loan you $5, it's a different thing. Just people out there that are just really struggling, and we could do so much more with support. In my mind, I wish that we could have, in my head, it's called the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Some retail space where people just go and hang out. It doesn't need to be a coffee shop, but just hang out, and people come by and let kids do homework that need help with homework, or just a safe place to be. People are lonely. There are people that when they say, I don't have any friends, they literally don't have any friends. They don't have people that they can trust, because the people they know, all of us, right? Like if we don't trust people, you hurt the people that hurt you. All those things, just not being able to connect. And without connection, you don't find safety, you don't find vulnerability, you don't grow. It's just stuck.
There's two things that instantly pop into my mind. One is you've dreamt about this, which is very cool. Second is kind of not cool, which is I'm like, that's what we're supposed to be doing as the church.
And it's not a program.
We can provide all that relationship and support.
Do you get a little bit like, not nervous, but just kind of like, I'm supposed to be saying something here, and I guess I'm just going to start talking?
Do I get like that?
Yeah.
I don't think that. The nerves are different for me at this point in my life. I've been in public speaking in one way or another my entire life. The only time I feel that, you always get a little bit of adrenaline before you get up, right? But the nervousness part only comes if the situation is way different than something I've been accustomed to. So if I'm speaking at a place that has this big room and, different type of auditorium or sanctuary that I'm used to, or stage, I try to go in there early and just hang out on the stage to get a feel for it, because that helps. So the only time like I get like a anxiety thing about public speaking is when something's drastically. So if I was speaking to very few people right now, that would probably ping it, because I'm not used to speaking to very few people.
You can see all their faces.
I'm used to speaking to a lot of people. So, like, that's the only time I ever, and usually I have a system for like my messages. Like, I lay it all out and memorize keywords, and I have all kinds of, and then part of it too is I think probably what makes you the best you in a therapy session is what makes me the best me in on a stage, which is when we're just being ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I mean, with appropriate filters or whatever, but like, so I spent a lot of time just trying to get out of my own way and just realizing like, hey, this is who God made me, and I'm not for everybody, and it's okay. I'm not going to try.
That's the hard part, though. So you know you're not for everybody. Like, I'm definitely not everybody's cup of tea, right? And that's okay, because nobody is. But it's then when you hear the feedback, you might not be for everybody. That's like, oh, that kind of hurt.
Yeah, sometimes I think early on it hurt a lot more. Now I kind of am like, yeah, so just go to a church where the pastor is what you're looking for.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I'm not going to... I appreciate that you're telling me this, because I guess it makes you feel better. But I'm not going to wear it.
Yeah.
You know, like, I'm not going to dress the way you want me to dress, or not make the jokes you wish I didn't make. You know, so...
That's next level adulting, when you can start just kind of leaning into your own self and be like, yeah, well...
I mean, it still gets you. You know, there's moments of insecurity where I think it still gets me. And like, I'm like, you know, and some people handle that with grace, and some people are kind of mean about it. And I try to take a shot. And so there, I wouldn't say like it never gets to me. There's probably some times where I go home and I'm like, you would not believe this person. Why don't they just go to another church? You know, and I don't think I have anybody like that now. I think because I think the more you are yourself, the more it's like you're an email list. If you ever had an email list and you get an unsubscribe, and at first you're like, man, why are they unsubscribing? It kind of hurts. Then you're like, no, I'm just kind of like finding my people, and maybe they're not my people. And like, now at church is really great because, you know, I think I've been being myself long enough, who God made me to be, personality and giftedness, that I think people are usually not surprised.
I get that feedback, because we do share some common people. You know, you refer to me, but also people that you probably don't know come to my office, have had interactions with you. And it's the authenticity. When we don't know someone, we can't trust them.
Right.
And I do get feedback. A lot of the feedback that I've gotten from clients is that have chosen to share positive feedback is that I'm relatable, because I'm only me. Like, I'm not interested in pretending to be someone I'm not. It's too much energy. And quite frankly, I don't have that kind of energy, that they feel like they can trust me because I'm real. I'm not putting on any airs. I'm not acting like I'm above anybody. Usually I'm sitting on either a chair or a love seat, and my feet are propped up on the round table in front of me. I'm encouraging people, make yourself at home, like get comfy. You know, usually I'm also spilling coffee down my shirt. There, you know, there's times I've missed my mouth, and I just sit there and laugh like, well, that happened, you know? But just being able to sit with people and not judge them, and just,
being authentic and transparent.
Well, you can spot a fake a mile away.
Yeah, I can be more transparent in my field than you can be, because it's not appropriate for you to be sharing that kind of stuff. But in my world, I can, and that's been something that's been a challenge too. I don't think I can't be transparent. I have a tough time. I don't like fake. The hardest part I have is when I realize somebody does like fake. They want the show in a pastor.
Oh yeah,
and that's what I don't understand. Probably need to be a little more curious about it. But so that transparency part for me is, I think, really helps create that connection.
I wonder if they want the fake, because if you're not perfect, then what do you do with a pastor who's not perfect?
Yeah.
You know, again, it's like you're not fitting the box.
Yeah. Church hurt.
Oh, we're going there.
I don't know. Should we?
Why not?
What I mean, it's like a thing. It trends now, you know. And a lot of times I look at it, and I'm like, yeah, that sucks. That's not how it's supposed to be. It's sad to me to watch, and it also scares me, because I'm like, I think any place any place with people gathered like this has the potential to hurt somebody.
Any place with more than one person in the room has the potential to hurt somebody.
Yeah. The problem in church hurt, I think, is not when people get the courage to go, hey, I don't think that was right or true or
I might know
loving.
a little bit about that.
You might know a little bit about it. Have you experienced this?
Yeah.
And then the response is usually
Bye.
nicer words because we're bye.
Bye.
That's better than what I was going to say.
There's a lot that I could say.
But
bye.
Bye.
It's been nice having you.
And I think that's where the wounds cut deepest for people. When I see it on social media and stuff, that's the wound that hurts. Like, hey, I did do what I was supposed to do according to this book. We're all supposed to be living by, and I just got nothing, or worse than nothing.
Yeah. I'm pretty familiar with that. So that's hard.
Well, maybe since you've experienced it, how do you process that?
Processing it, just, I think as a therapist, again, I'd mentioned I'm a systemic therapist. So kind of seeing how the pieces fit and what works with what, just understanding even, when you have leadership that can't do conflict, just the lack of insight and lack of awareness that, again, we're uncomfortable. These things are happening. We're being challenged, and not being able to sit and reflect of maybe I made a mistake.
Yeah.
Or maybe something didn't go well. And let's hear what these other people have to say that see things differently. Because when we surround ourselves with people that only think like we do, that's really dangerous. Yeah. That's kind of how that's kind of how groups kind of start going off the rails. Just thinking of all the mega church, the scandals in mega churches.
Yeah.
Because the leadership surrounds itself with the yes people or the people that are just like that. You'll see that in a lot of family churches when families run the church. The dysfunction of the family then becomes the dysfunction of the system, the whole thing. So that's hard to not be heard.
I understand where it comes from. There's not that I agree or condone, and I don't know all of the specifics of the situation that you were through, and just speaking in church in general, there's a temptation, I think, probably that is felt, a tension maybe in every church to say, well, if we're doing really good stuff, we need to protect what we think keeps us doing good stuff, which is our name and our brand and our people and whatever, our structure. And I actually think, so I understand that. I think it's something that needs to be fought against from the top down, where you go, the brand doesn't matter.
But what's the brand?
It's nothing.
If you're a Christian church, what is the brand?
It should be Christ.
It should be.
Right.
It's not always.
No, but I have my logo is everywhere. My name is all over the internet. People know the weird G we have and the black signs and the logos and stuff. And it's easy to go, well, my brand has a lot of marketing value right now, not in the sense of making us money, but in the sense of reaching people. And reaching people, isn't that what we're supposed to do? And then I go, wait a minute though, you have to actively go, it's not about that. That's just a piece that's not even that important. It's just
it's when it's a fight against the ego.
Yeah.
It's great to be able to say our church has X amount of 100 people coming, or we have 2, 3, 4 services every week, and we're baptizing all these people. And I hope you're baptizing people, but if you're not working out, not living out what it's supposed to be, we're human beings, we're not human doings, right? So if we're not living out what Christianity is supposed to be, we're supposed to be able to be a safe place for the broken. So if someone, God forbid, one of us sins, which probably in the next 20 minutes I will at some point, right? Yeah. Whatever thought or whatever I have. But if we have people who are sinning, we need to be the people that can say, okay, so now what are we going to do?
Yeah.
How are we going to restore you? How are we going to help? How are we going to help with this healing? How can we be safe for people?
So I understand the tension, and I think you have to fight against it, which I don't think a lot of churches do. They fight to protect it. And that's misguided and harmful. And I think that the answer maybe is transparency and culture, which, interesting enough, are what people are craving. Mm-hmm. That's actually what wins and what draws people.
But when you have transparency, though, you have to be able to accept that people might have not opinions about it, but you might get questioned.
Yeah.
If I have a plan, if I have a vision for what something's going to look like, I'm going to do what I can to protect that vision. And how transparent can I be with finances? How transparent can I be with, why someone's hired or fired? Like you had talked about earlier too, you can't always give reasons for things because there's confidentiality,
right.
And that's accurate. But, how much, when you're in leadership, the greatest leaders are the greatest servants. They're there to serve and to exhort the people that they're serving. Those are the greatest leaders. I forget which general was it that, leaders eat last.
I don't remember.
I don't know. We'll go Stormin' Norman. He's a good one to go to. I don't know.
I don't, and that's where the culture piece comes, because the culture builds trust. And if I'm living transparently, if I'm being a transparent leader, if I create a culture that in my realm, so our first two kind of values, we don't call values, we call them guide rails, or guide rails, kind of like a guardrail and a guidepost mixed together, mashed into one word. That's kind of how we frame our values. But the first one is like, we keep Jesus first and we keep people second. And if you build that culture where those two things are the focus over everything else, and then I'm living transparently, then you have the trust that when you have to go, I can't really tell you. People go, I really believe that Josh would if he had to, but can't, so he won't. Whereas if you have a culture that's off, and it's a culture of protection, it's a culture of keep the circle tight.
Salesmanship, selling something.
If it's a culture of a show, or there's all kinds of bad cultures out there where it's about money and all these things that give people really terrible taste about church. Then when there's a moment where something is needed, people are going to go, come on, man. Last question.
Okay.
Last serious, and I have some other ones. But like, if someone's listening to this and they feel too far gone, whatever that means, what would you say to them?
They're not alone.
Yeah.
That's a pretty common, like, I think at some point everyone feels too far gone. You've got to reach out. It sounds so trite, right? Like, you've got to reach out, but nobody's that far gone. Everybody has something to offer. And sometimes if you just even start to serve someone else, like go walk a dog at the shelter, like move a muscle, change a thought, So if you're feeling a certain way, do something that is the exact opposite of how you're feeling to help you just start feeling connected, shaken. Again, we said feelings are fickle little guys that often lie to us. Yeah. And it's easy to feel like maybe you're unloved, no one likes you, you're worthless, you're valueless, but that's absolute complete garbage.
I love that.
It is. It's garbage.
Did you want to call it something else right there?
Did you see me filtering on my face?
I just know the look because it's
keeping it PG.
How I live. Yeah.
Keeping it PG.
My filter all the time.
That's right.
Anything living rent free in your head right now? Like good, bad, silly, ridiculous.
So, have you seen the show Love on the Spectrum?
Yes.
Did you see all 3 seasons?
No.
Which ones did you see?
I didn't know there were 3 seasons.
There's 3 seasons. The 3rd is the best.
Who's in it?
Well, a lot of the same ones. Well, everyone. See, now you're asking me to give names, and I can't think of
Connor.
names. Connor's in it. Did you see the outcome of Connor? Do you know what's happened with him?
Yeah.
Which season did you see?
Are we gonna spoil it? I don't know.
Okay?
But I follow him. Things are great. I'm following. Like this is how we felt. My family.
Yeah.
Jen put the show on, and we're like, "What? Let's watch something funny or whatever." And she's like, "No, you have to see this. You have
to see it."
So next thing you know, we're watching, fast forwarding to all. Not that the other parts weren't great.
Right.
But our family instantly fell in love with Connor. That is such a good show. I'm so glad that is living rent free in your head.
Josh, you have no idea. I have actually recommended to people in my sessions that are struggling with dating.
Yeah.
I have said, please go watch that show because, people who are, neurodivergent often have had social skills training, so they know, okay, if I meet someone, I should stand up, I should shake their hand. They go on these dates and they're very polite with each other.
They're awesome at it.
Okay, what happens at the end of the dates? At the end of the dates, they're saying, I had a really good time with you. I would like to go on another date with you again. Would you like to go out with me again? Yeah. Or they say, it was really nice to meet you, but I don't think that there's a love connection here. Maybe we can just stay friends. Could you imagine if the rest of people dated like that? There would be no ghosting. There would be no anxiety of, did they like me? They just say it. I had a really nice time with you. Yeah. I would like to go on another date. Or, I don't think this is going to work out, but I wish you the best of luck.
This is brilliant.
I have told people, please go watch that and take notes. I have.
That is so awesome. I'm not going to ask you to give advice because this whole thing was just full of it. So...
Was it advice? Just my own reflections.
Do you have one piece of advice to people?
My advice is, okay, here's another thing that shows up in every session. Know the difference between an opinion and fact.
Yeah.
And understand that you have expectations. We all have them, but they don't mean that someone has to meet them.
Hey-o.
Right? Like we all have expectations and it doesn't mean they have to be met. And often when we're mad, it's because we have unmet expectations. So do I have the right to demand that this meets my expectation? To the car in front of me driving too slow, unfortunately, I do not have the right to demand that they drive how I think they should. Yeah.
I'll have to remember that when I'm driving home.
Oh, well, then you just do the whole or if someone's driving too fast and crazy, I just go with, they have a woman who's giving birth in the car.
Is that what you go with?
Absolutely.
I go with, they're about to crap their pants.
That's another good one. I've been that person. I'm going 80 miles an hour down a back road.
Get out of the way.
Please don't.
You can pull me over, but you're going to have to wait in the driveway till I get back out.
I think we've all been there. We've all just left Long John Silver's and we got to get home 15 minutes.
Oh, man, that's so good. All right. Well, thanks so much for being on here.
Thanks for having me.
It was awesome having you.
Good to see you for the third time.
Yeah,
ever.
It is. It's a great conversation.
I hope.
It was 100%.
Okay, that's
a
kind
million
of surprising
percent.
to me.
It was
like,
1,000%. I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. It was
okay.
great talking with you. Thanks so much for all of this. It was amazing. The only bummer is that I'm going to have to edit some of it out because we talked for so long.
Well, good luck.
Well, thanks everybody for listening to the I'm Here For It podcast. This has been an amazing conversation, and no matter what life looks like or how things are going, I'm here for it. This podcast is here for it. Our guests are here for it.
We're here for it.
Until next time, stay kind, be kind to yourself, and book a therapist. Where can they get a hold of you?
They can contact you.
They can contact me, and I'll get you Kathy's information.
There you go.
But stay kind. I can't wait to see you on the next I'm Here For It podcast later. Thanks for tuning in to the I'm Here For It podcast. Just a quick reminder, the thoughts and opinions shared on this show are our own. They don't necessarily represent the thoughts and opinions of our employers, our places of business, our families, or maybe even people that don't want to be associated with us anymore. And honestly, sometimes we even question our own thoughts and opinions after these shows have aired. We're not doctors, therapists, lawyers, experts in anything except maybe overthinking things. Well, maybe some of our guests are some of those things, but for real, this podcast is not about offering you professional or therapeutic help. We're just here having fun. It's for entertainment purposes and maybe a little bit of education. Yeah, we hope it can make your life better and make you smile and encourage you a little bit. But seriously, this is more like a group chat that you didn't know you needed. So don't take anything too seriously from us without at least double checking it with someone who actually knows stuff. Stay kind, stay curious, and no matter how weird it gets, we're here for it.